Hi, are we live? Hi, welcome. Simon here, and I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'll be doing a screen replacement on an iPad 7th generation. The model of this, if you take a look at the back of your iPad, you should be able to identify as model A2197. Okay, so in this iPad, you can definitely see that the digitizer, there's a crack here at the bottom. There's a line running across it, as well as the LCD screen is bad. The display, the retina display, the LCD is bad. It's cracked the whole top left corner right there. So I'll be replacing two things. The digitizer, which is this one, and this is the LCD screen. All right. So first thing first, let's go ahead and put on a safety goggle. You need to have the safety goggle to protect your eyes at all time. You do not want to have any of the broken glass that gets into your eye. So get a pair of safety goggle, put it on. If you do not have a heat gun, you can go ahead and get yourself like a hair dryer. All we have to do is just to warm up the adhesive. But before I do that, let's go ahead and try to turn off the iPad. So I'm using a heat gun. I'm heating up the side of the screen. There's gonna be adhesive all around the corner. So once you hit to melt the glue, warm up the glue, then you can separate and remove the glass. For my case, it's going to be a lot easier. As you can see that the glass is not really shattered. It's still like a full on, like a full piece together. So therefore, it's a lot easier for me to remove the glass. But if your glass is really shattered and broken into like 1,000 pieces, then you may have difficulty or take a long time to remove those broken glass. All right, now the next step is to get myself a metal prying tool. I'm gonna stick it in between that glass, like so. The adhesive is too hard, so let me heat it up. You just want to heat up the area that you're going to work with. You don't have to heat up the entire iPad. And then by the time you get to the other side of it, it would have been cold and the glue will get hardened. So you just want to heat up the area that you're going to work with to keep the glue warm and soft, so that way you can easily remove the glass. As you can see, I'm trying to remove the glass. More of the thing is breaking and cracking apart. we are going to save the home button. There's a touch ID in each of the iPad. So the home button belongs to this iPad. There's a serial being registered to it. So if you break the home button cable, then you will have to install a third-party home button. Everything would work just normal except the touch ID. But if you're able to save your original home button, then you can reuse that home button and the touch ID would be the same. Okay. So you want to pay a close attention to the very bottom of the iPad. That is where the Wi-Fi cable is installed at the bottom here, as well as the home button. Alright, so you can flip it to your right. We have, let's see if I can save the home button here. It looks like the home button is a third-party home button. It doesn't look like the original to me. This iPad screen might have been replaced by somebody in the past. Yeah, it's definitely not the original home button. This is the third-party home button, meaning that this iPad was being replaced by someone else before in the past. As you can see that the bracket just came right off, and I can see there's a blue tape down here, which indicate that definitely it's not original home button. So somebody might have took out the original ones. But it's okay, like I said, you can install the third-party home button. The clicker, the button, everything works just as normal. The only thing doesn't work is your touch ID. Okay, so the next step is I like to cut off the Digitizer flex cable. Some of you may disagree with me, but I've been doing this for a while. Since the iPad is turned off, it is okay just to cut it off and just to kind of free up this broken glass so that it can work easily, concentrate on the iPad itself. Alright, the next step is to get yourself a Phillips screwdriver. I'll be using the 1.5 and we're going to remove the screws. There are 4 screws in total, 2 on the top, left and right, and 2 at the very bottom. And there should be 1 here, it's missing screw. Okay, now for those of you who is the first time doing the iPad repair, there is a glue that is glued onto the LCD screen. You need to get like a tweezer or something where you can scrape off that little black glue. Removing that screw does not mean that you can remove the screen immediately. There's still this little glue, sticky glue that is gluing onto the LCD screen. So you need to scrape that off and kind of pry it a little bit, get a little gap, and do the same on the other side. So using a tweezer that allows you to scrape off some of those glue, and when you scrape those glue off, then you can lift up that LCD screen. And now you just want to flip it towards your body and then hold it at 90-degree angle like so. Get a Phillips screwdriver and we're going to remove the 3 screws. The 3 screws here is holding down the flex cable. Remove the bracket, get a plastic prying tool, go underneath that flex cable and pop the connector out. They are just like Lego. You go underneath and then just lift it up. So that's the reason why I cut the flex cable earlier to remove the digitizer, because we are going to replace with the new screen. So therefore we do not need that little connector here. Okay, so this can go to the trash. The LCD screen can go to the trash as well, because here is broke off on that corner, right? So alright, so we have the home button here. And what I like to do is to take some time, come and clean off that extra adhesive tape. So you can see that replacement tape here is still glued onto the iPad, so come and clean it off. There's any small piece of glass, you want to remove that, because the new glass, when it sits on top of it, it has to be flat and flush. Right, so come and clean off all those tape and glue. I know I'm not doing a great job here because the iPad was replaced in the past, so there was a lot of unclean stuff and it's been stuck there for a while, so you can keep scraping them and clean it. If I see the big chunk, I'll clean it up, but some of them I'll just leave it and should be okay. The goal is to make sure the new adhesive tape that sits on top has a good grip to the base, and that would also hold up to the glass. Okay, especially here on the side, because the side has a very tiny narrow base, which you don't have much tape to tape onto, versus the one here on the top, and the one at the bottom has a lot more space for the tape to tape them together. Okay. Alright, so I've been cleaning this. Okay, so that is all done. Now the next step, what I like to do is, this is the new LCD screen. And if you're not sure where to buy those LCD screen from, please do not forget to check the link down description below. I'll link it to either Amazon or eBay, where you can find the tools, the parts, on Amazon or eBay, where you can find the replacement tools and the parts for this repair. Okay, I'm using a metal prying tool. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to peel that plastic off. So there is a tiny little film that is stick onto the LCD. So I need to peel that tiny little plastic off of it, so you would have a clean LCD screen. Okay, that's gonna go here. Alright, and then here comes the screen digitizer. Make sure you peel that film. There's a film here in the back side of it. So there are two sides. One here is in the front. As you can see, the front has a film, and then the back here has one as well. I already peeled it off earlier, so but make sure you remember to peel it off before you install them. Okay, I'm going to hold on to the LCD screen here, sitting at 90-degree angle, and I'm going to have this digitizer go on top of the connector. Again, they're just like Lego. You just have to align them in a position and then press it down and they'll install. Let me remove this a second. So they're just like a Lego. All you have to do is to make sure you align the connector properly and gently press it down. You do not want to force it in. It doesn't take a lot of force to install this connector. Okay. Once you have done with that, the next step is to install this LCD screen, and then make sure the cable of the home button is on top of that. And then before we close it, have the bracket here goes on top of the flex cable. Get the 3 screws. Screw them back together, 3 of them. All right, and you're gonna rest that LCD screen on top of it. And do not forget to put the screws. There are 4 screws holding down the LCD. So 2 on the top, 2 at the bottom. Okay. I'm going to turn on the iPad and make sure I have display. All right, and there you go. It's showing up the Apple. We are close to done, but it's not quite done yet. I just wanted to turn on, make sure I have an LCD screen display before I move forward. I'm going to use this little tissue to cover up just in case if there's any random picture here. So as you can see, the thing was touching at the random number. That is because I think the sensor here on the back, that thing was touching at it. So let's give it a minute or 2. While we are waiting for that, I'm going to fix the home button. Should I? Oh, maybe not. Wait. I need to cut this one up first before I fix that. The reason is so that I can feel that home button on the other side of it. Okay. I'm gonna wait for like about a minute. So while we're waiting for that, let me introduce you. This is the 2mm, 2mm. That is the size, the width of the adhesive tape. I know that you're gonna ask me, why do I need to buy this additional red adhesive tape? The reason is because the one that comes with the screen digitizer, those, they do not stick very well. Okay, so the one that pre-installed right here, they do not stick well. Maybe after about a week or 2, the screen is going to pop right out. So you need to have a stronger adhesive tape to hold them down together. So the 2mm, I'm taping it on the very side of the screen because that is the length and the width of the side of that. Okay. So both sides, left and right. So just take your time. I'm just trying to really push it to the very corner of it so that I get a good contact to the iPad, and therefore it would stick well to the glass. So give it a little snuggle and tuck it in. Okay, so that is the 2mm on both sides of it. Now the next step is to install, this is the 3mm, 3mm, slightly thicker. You can tape it down to the very bottom here. And if you want, you can double up the tape. It's not a problem. The base is a lot bigger. So you want to tape it good, just double up the thing. And that should give you about 6mm. Okay. So once you have done with the bottom part, let's move on to the top. The top, I'm just going to give it a one go. Make sure you do not tape onto the front camera. Okay, that should be it. Now, before I work on the rest of the home button here, I just wanted to make sure that the home button is going to work. So if I press, it looks like the sensor is still touching at it. Why is that? Now it's 5 minutes. Ay, ay, ay. I know the home button works because when I press the clicker, I can see the LCD screen comes on, but then the sensor is still like touching at it sporadic, because here on the side of it is actually what do we call the digitizer, the sensor, and that might have been touching at the screen. So let me double check and making sure. Oh, now we gotta wait for 5 minutes. Oh no. I'm just gonna move forward with this. Might have been the sensor here on both sides. I'm gonna cover up that sensor right there. Because this type of third-party LCD screen, sometimes you can get a good vendor that they make a good LCD digitizer screen. You won't have this problem with the sensor, the ghost touching, but this screen seems to have that problem. So the only way to work around it is to have this kind of tape to cover up that sensor. Therefore, it prevents it from ghost touching. Well, I guess this is quite annoying. It's my first time doing this live repair and make a fool out of me. Could have been done, but that's all right. So there are 4 sides, top, bottom, left and right. You just want to install this to cover them up, to prevent the sensor from touching at each other, so that we are avoiding any ghost touching. And just try to stay on top of that sensor. Okay, so how many more minutes do we have? 5 more minutes. Well, we'll move on. We don't have 5 minutes for this, but that should work. I just want to get straight to the home button here. So the home button right now is going to sit on top of this, and I felt it's too low. So if you pay a close attention to it, the new screen does not have a ring at the bottom. When I say the ring, I'm referring to this ring. Okay, so that is the ring. Okay,